Good afternoon, students. Welcome to our PowerPoint YouTube class. As usual, I'm your uncle, Mr. Oyeridetunde Daniel. And basically in this class, what we'll be discussing is a physics question on light and optics. We'll be looking at different questions based on the topic that we've done, which is light and optics. And I will advise you to listen to this YouTube and watch it as many times as you can. Question will be asked and the answer will either be underlined or be written in bold. All I need you to do for this class is just look at the question and study the answer. In our Zoom class and our subsequent bulletin, some of the questions that I know that look complex or technical, I will find time to explain it one after the other. This is one of the ways in which I can simplify what I've been taught in our previous class. And the first question says here is that a parallel beam of light is to be obtained from a headlamp of a car. At which of the following position should the source of the light be placed from the pole of its spherical mirror? The answer to this question is that it must be placed at the focal point. The reason for this, we'll discuss it in our Zoom class. This question says, which of the following pair of light rays show the widest separation in the spectrum of white light? The one that shows the widest separation is red and indigo. We'll discuss this in our next class, which is called dispersion of light. This question says, an image which can be formed on the screen is said to be what? Images or image formed on the screen is called a real image. Now, this slide throw more light on the differences between real and virtual image. A real image is an image which is formed when the light ray meets at a particular point after reflection from the mirror, while a virtual image refers to the image which forms when light rays appear to meet at different points after reflection through the mirror. Now, which part of the camera corresponds to iris of the eye? The part of the camera that corresponds to the iris of the eye is the diaphragm. We've discussed human eyes as well as camera. So the part of the camera that corresponds to the iris is called the diaphragm. The diaphragm is the part of the eye that corresponds to the iris. This question says, at which of the following distances from the lens should a slide be placed in a slide projector if f is the focal length of the projector? It should be placed at option D, which the answer is equals to 2f. Number 6 says, which of the following is used to control the amount of light entering the eye? The amount of light entering the eye is controlled by the part of the eye called iris. So iris, as it's spelled, I-R-I-S, is the part of the eye that controls the amount of light entering the eye. Which of the following statement is not correct for light ray passing through a rectangular glass block which is surrounded by air? The answer is D. It means it is deviated at the point of emergence. As I said earlier, read the question, know the answer. In our Zoom class, I will explain why each of these is the answer. But if you should read your note very well, you will get some of the answer to this question by yourself. Now, in our previous lesson, we discussed eye defect, and we discussed long-sightedness and short-sightedness. I want to use this slide to explain what long-sightedness is. Long-sightedness occurs when the eyeball is slightly too short, so that the focus point is behind the retina at the back of the eye. If you are long-sighted, you find it more difficult to see clearly objects that are close to you. So a long-sighted person cannot see objects that are close to him or are clearly. Now, this diagram shows a long-sighted person. You can see that the focal point is behind the retina, which not supposed to be. Now, how can it be corrected? Correction of long-sightedness is explained in this slide. Long-sightedness is corrected by use of what we call a convex lens. Remember, in our previous class, we discussed refraction through lenses, and we look at the various types of, we discussed convex lens in details as well as concave lens. So long-sightedness is corrected by use of a convex lens. Short-sightedness. Short-sightedness is otherwise called myopia. So another name for a short-sighted condition is what we call myopia. And it's very common eye condition that causes distant objects to apply blur. It means distant object cannot be seen clearly, while close object can be seen clearly. And how can it be? This diagram shows the normal vision where the image is formed on the retina, but for a short-sighted person, front of the eyeball has outgrown its size. Hence, the object cannot be formed on the retina. And basically, myopia is corrected by use of a concave lens. It's corrected by use of a concave lens. So short-sightedness is corrected by use of what we call a concave lens. Let's continue with our question. This question says, an image which cannot be formed on the screen is said to be virtual, which is D. Remember, real image is formed on the screen, while virtual image cannot be formed on the screen. The ability of the eye to focal near object is called long sight. When the eye can only focus near object, it is called long sight. The image of any real object formed by a diverging lens is always real. The image of any real object formed by a divergent lens is always real. It is not inverted, it is not magnified, it is not erect, it is always real. Remember, the word always means it is constantly or always real. The ability of the eye to focal near object is known as what? Long sight. The ability of the eye to focus near object is called long sight. I've seen this question before. The image of a real object formed by a diverging lens is always real. You can see I'm repeating the question so that you have good understanding of it. When a ray of light is incident normally on an air glass interface, the angle of refraction is always 0 degrees. When a ray of light is incident normally on an air glass interface, the angle of refraction is 0 degree. I will explain why the answer is 0 degree. When white light is incident on the glass, the spectrum produced on the screen placed beyond the prism is due to the phenomenon called diffraction. The answer is not reflection, it's not refraction, nor polarization. The answer is diffraction. Which of the following distances is usually adjustable in the camera? The distance between the lens and the film. So the distance that is usually adjustable in the camera is the distance between the lens and the film, not the diaphragm and the shooter, not the shooter and the film, not the diaphragm and the film, but the lens and the film. In which of the following piece of apparatus is radio of curvature equals to twice the focal length? The answer is in a converging mirror. I repeat this question again. In which of the following piece of apparatus is the radius of curvature equals to twice the focal length? The answer is in a convergent lens. So in a convergent lens, the radius of curvature is always equals to twice the focal length. A concave mirror can be used to produce a parallel beam of light if the light is placed at where? The answer is if the light is placed at its focus. A concave mirror can be used to produce a parallel beam of light if the light bulb is placed at the focus. A lens that is thinner at the middle and thicker at the edge is called a divergent lens. Remember, we look at a full description of converging and divergent lens. And a lens that is thinner at the middle and thicker at the edge is called a divergent lens. As I said earlier, I will implore you to go through this question as many times as we could. When I'm setting my question, either during test or during exam, it will be more of subjective question. I may not give you answer so that I will know that you really take this class serious, and so that I will know that the objective of doing this, introducing this type of class is achievable? Please go through the question in details. A lens that is thinner at the middle and thicker at the edge is a diverging lens. Which of the following is not true of the similarity between camera and human eye? The answer is the distance between the lens and the screen is fixed in both. This is not true. What is the image distance of an object placed at a distance of 2f from the converging length of focal length? The answer is 2f. Number 19 says, which of the following statement is not correct about long sight? The defect is corrected by using a divergent lens. No, the defect cannot be corrected by the use of divergent lens. Remember, the question says, which of the following statement is not correct? It means out of the 4 statements, 3 are correct, but 1 is incorrect. So the incorrect one, or the one that is not correct, is that the defect is corrected by a divergent lens. It cannot be corrected by a divergent lens. Which of the following condition is necessary for the occurrence of total internal reflection? For total internal reflection to occur, the angle of incidence must be greater than the critical angle. A, B, and D are incorrect, but C is correct. So light must travel. The answer is the angle of incidence must be greater than the critical angle. So total internal reflection is achievable when the angle of incidence is greater than the critical angle. The angle of deviation of light of various colors passing through glass prism decreases in the order of blue, orange, and red. Again, I repeat again, the angle of deviation of light of various color passing through a glass prism decreases in the order of blue, orange, and red. The order in which the angle of deviation decreases when it passes through a glass prism is in the order of blue, orange, and red. This question says, a magnified and visual image of a near object is produced by a simple microscope. As I said, know the answer properly. I will explain to you why the answer is not a prism, binocular, astronomical telescope, periscope, but the answer is what? A simple microscope. The image of an optical pin placed at the principal focus of a concave mirror will be formed where? The image will be formed at infinity. The place where the image will be formed is at infinity. The image of an optical pin placed at the principal focus. So any object which is placed at the principal focus of a converging mirror, the image will be formed at infinity. Which of the following statements about human eyes and camera is correct? The focal length of both the eye and the camera can be varied. I repeat again, the focal length of both the eye lens and the camera lens can vary. It means it can change. So for this question, option A, B, and C are correct, but option D. Okay, option A, B, C are incorrect, but option D is the correct answer. It says which of the following statements about human eye and camera is correct. So A, both form visual images of an object is incorrect, B is incorrect, C is incorrect, but D is the correct answer. 25 says, in the normal use of simple microscope, a person sees. So when a simple microscope is being used, what are the images that a person will see? The image are real, or the image is real, erect, and magnified. I repeat again, the person in the normal use of simple microscope, a person sees an erect, real, and magnified image. So in the use of a simple microscope, the image seen are or have the following characteristics, which are erect, real, and magnified. A piece of cloth appears green in sunlight. When held in red light, it appears what? It will appear black. A piece of cloth appears green in sunlight. When held in red light, it will appear black. In our Zoom class, we'll be discussing dispersion of light. and I will throw more light on why black is the answer. And at this point in time, I'm employing you to read more about light and optics. Take your textbook, use the internet, use your past question paper, both your JAM and your WAEC, as well as IGCSE, so that you have a good understanding of the topic. This question says, dispersion of white light by a glass prism occur. That is, what is responsible for the dispersion of white light by a glass prism? The speed of each color of light in the glass is proportional to angle of refraction in the prism. The answer to this question is the speed of each color of light in the glass is proportional to the angle of refraction in the prism. 28 says, which of the following statements about sound is correct? It means option A, B, and D are wrong, but option C is the correct answer. So the question says, which of the following statements about sound is correct? The wavelength of sound changes when it travels from air to water. When sound travels from air to water, its wavelength changes. So I would like you to look at the question very well. As I repeat the question, it says, which of the following statements about sound is incorrect? It means A is correct, B is correct. No, okay, which of the following statements about sound is correct? It means A is incorrect, B is not correct, and D is not correct, but C is the correct answer. Dispersion of white light is the ability of white light to separate into its component color. So when white light separates into its component color, it is called dispersion of white light. The use of senses is not applicable in periscope. In our next class, I will show you what periscope looks like, telescope, as well as projector. But I think if you should check your notes, we discussed this in our Zoom class, but in our previous Zoom class. But in our next Zoom class, I will ensure I show you what telescope, periscope, and projector looks like. As well as probably I will paste the notes as soon as possible. And at the same time, I would like you to read more on projector, telescope, and periscope. So the use of lenses is not applicable in periscope. It is applicable in projector and telescope, but it is not applicable in periscope. The range of accommodation of normal human eye. We say what is accommodation? Accommodation is the ability of the eye to alter its focal length so that both far and near distance objects can be seen on the retina. So the range of accommodation of normal human length ranges between 0.25 meter to infinity. I'll keep on explaining all the concepts that we've discussed. I've explained what accommodation is when we are discussing refraction of light through the eye. And I repeat again that accommodation is the ability of the eye to alter its focal length so that both far and near distance are seen on the retina. The plane mirror in kaleidoscope are usually placed at an angle of 60 degrees. I need you to read more about this. For correcting a long-sighted defect in human, we acquire what is called a converging lens. So for long sight defect, we use what we call a converging lens. So dispersion of white light by a glass prism occur. The speed of each color of light in the glass is proportional to angle of refraction in the prism. Remember, this question has been asked in 3 different formats. So I need you to study it very well. In fact, that's one of the objectives of having this type of class, because one single question can be rephrased in about 5 different ways when explaining the concept of physics. So as I said earlier, I want to employ you to go through the question one after the other. And as much as possible, go through the class as many times as you can. The last question says, the total internal reflection will not occur when light travels from glass into water. When light travels from glass into water, total internal reflection will not occur. We've explained what total internal reflection is, but for the sake of this question, total internal reflection will not occur when light travels from glass into water. Why of this? We'll still discuss it in our Zoom class. And I would like you to read more about this, because I can call you to explain to me why total internal reflection will not occur when light travel from glass into water. Now, all the question, we have 35 questions here. I have explained, I have given you the answer. So when we meet, as I said earlier, those ones that are complex, I will explain it to you. But those that are not too complex, you will be the one to make the explanation for me. For example, this question 2 says, which of the following pair of light rays show the widest separation in the spectrum of white light? And I say the answer is red and indigo. In my class, I will rephrase the question like, why red and indigo have the widest separation in the spectrum of white light? This is another question. So for every question I've underlined, I would like you to study why the underline or the letter written in bold is the answer. At this point, I want to say thank you for your time and God bless you all. Thank you.